As the anti-ICE riots spread across the country and enter into new states and cities, we enter the weekend with a lot of uncertainty. It seems like a lot of the violence and destruction of property is sort of starting to die down a little bit in LA, and they seem to gain a little bit of control there. But with the weekend, who knows what is going to unfold? It seems like there are a lot more people available to go out and protest and riot on the weekends. I guess, they're off work and they don't have any other things to do other than set some cars on fire and destroy some property and throw rocks at police. So we'll see what goes on there. It's becoming more and more obvious that not only do the Democrats have a huge majority of the mentally ill in this country, as I'm sure a lot of these rioters are, I guess they feel like they've got nothing to lose. And, even if they get arrested in these liberal cities, the DA in there is this, probably a George Soros funded DA. And he's probably going to give a lot of these rioters just a slap on the wrist and they'll be back, out on the streets by Monday and in society with us again. So I feel like they're very much emboldened by that. And the weak on crime policies that we've seen cause the degradation of society that we've been seeing for years in these liberal cities. And also, it looks like the Democrats not only have the coalition of the mentally ill, but also they've got a huge swath of this country's deranged and just sadistic individuals, as we see this sadistic behavior and the destruction of property and the violence unfold at these protests. It's just senseless violence, really. And I'm sure a lot of these are the same people that we've seen at riots in the past. I'm sure they've got, they first found their love for rioting, their new hobby of rioting back in 2020, and then it's just moved on and perpetuated since then. I saw at one of the riots in Tucson today, there was a Antifa flag being waved there, which I'm sure there's plenty of Antifa members joining in the ranks of these riots here too, and just trying to sow just the degeneration of society and sow civil unrest in this country. And you see in all the videos you're going to see a lot of the rioters wearing the keffiyeh to hide their identity, and you see lots of pro Palestine flags at these riots too. So it's like these two things don't really interlock, but if you want to see the destruction of this country, you hate America and you hate the cops, why not join in? The Democrat Party lives for double standards. Their bread and butter is double standards. And one new double standard that I'm seeing here with this issue is the Democrats have been calling Donald Trump and the GOP a threat to democracy for the past year, all the way up until today. And the double standard here is how are these riots not a threat to democracy? We're seeing the party that lost an election back in November, the voters said, okay, we're voting for Donald Trump. That his core issue since 2016 has been immigration and deporting these people. So this is one of the big key voting issues that people elected him on. And now that he's actually going into these cities and enforcing the law that has been on the books for decades and has been enforced by virtually every other president in history, all the way up until Joe Biden decided to open up the border to 10 to 20 million people. He's just enforcing those laws. This is nothing new. But now the Democrats think, okay, we can just, inhibit the deportation of these people. We can attack ICE officers when they're trying to do their jobs, and we're going to shut down the deportation of these people. This is completely undemocratic. They are taking the will of the American people and saying, it doesn't matter what you voted for. There's a handful of us in these liberal cities that we're going to just override the entire election. So basically the message that I'm getting here is that you can throw open the border and let 10 to 20 million people in, and then good luck getting rid of them, because it's going to take 10 times more manpower, 10 times more resources, 10 times more amount of time to get rid of them all. And by the time they're here, there's nothing you can do about it. And then also, even just trying to go about getting rid of them, you're going to have these, district judges stopping you every step along the way, saying, oh, you can't do this, can't do that. Basically, a district judge, I guess, has more authority than the president of the United States, even though no one elected these appointed judges appointed by Obama and Biden. But then, who cares about that, I guess. And remember the red states, they tried to, enforce the law. Texas tried to have its own border fence, and the Biden administration would go in and take it down and say, oh, you can't do this. This is the federal government's job, and the states can't deport anyone. So the Biden administration is just going to fly all these people, millions of people, into the interior of the country. And then if those red states want to get rid of them, their governors want to get rid of the illegals, they have to find willing illegal immigrants that just say, okay, I volunteer to go to New York. And then they can put them on a bus and send them to New York on the state's dime, which is completely ridiculous and unfair to these red states. And then the blue states, they all of a sudden they're getting these illegal immigrants, and they're like, hey, now you guys can keep them down in Florida, Ron DeSantis, and in Texas. We don't want these illegal immigrants here. It's another just example of hypocrisy by the left, that we're fine with illegal immigrants as long as they're not coming into our neighborhoods and our cities and our states. You guys need to keep them down there. We don't have the resources to deal with them. Well, if we didn't have the resources to deal with them, why did you let them into the country? What the Democrats do not realize is that they've given Trump and the GOP a huge ace up their sleeves that they can keep around, anytime they need it. Before the midterms, before the next presidential election in 2028, they can just, ramp up operations in these deep blue districts, and then just wait for the leftists to start rioting and burning down the city. And then it's going to scare the crap out of the average voter in this country, seeing that kind of civil unrest and that kind of, just unhinged, delusional, liberal radicalism. They're just going to shoot themselves in the foot again. And, we can use that to our advantage anytime Trump decides to. The amount of video that we already have just from this week is just enough to be playing around the clock during campaign season. Just play that on every channel, and let all the voters see and remember just what these liberal governors and what Joe Biden caused in this country the last time that they were in charge. And another use for these videos is ICE could be using these to recruit new agents. I saw today, it was on Instagram, and it was presented as if it was a video from Austin yesterday. It was a rioter who picked up a tear gas canister and throws it back at the cops. And then a second later, he gets shot by one of the ICE agents with another tear gas canister right in the groin, to which he, curls over into the fetal position and questions his life decisions. But no video I've ever seen has ever made me question my career decisions more. If I had known, right out of high school that I would have possibly had the opportunity to shoot a Antifa member in the balls with a canister of tear gas, I probably would have joined ICE right out of high school. And I'm sure I'm not the only one out there that feels this way. And I'm sure that ICE agent who shot that is probably getting beers all week long from everyone in his battalion that, saw it happen. And the guy's probably going to be employee of the month this month. They're going to have his picture up in headquarters where it says for, distinguished honor and excellent aim. So But yeah, that's all I've got for you guys today. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.